Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you here to this Thursday night, May 19th, 2022 Board of Commissioners meeting. I'm going to ask right now that we will stand and have Commissioner Booker provide the invocation and Commissioner Tostenson for the pledge.
Bow our heads for prayer. Heavenly Father, we come before you once again with bowed heads and a humble heart, thanking you for this day. Thanking you for waking us up with breath in our bodies. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this community, for bringing us through the pandemic, Heavenly Father, and all the challenges, Heavenly Father, that we've had over the last couple of years. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the love that you put in the hearts of all of our citizens, Heavenly Father, one toward another. While the world looked at us around hate, we just prayed and we loved. Heavenly Father, we ask that you guide our thoughts tonight in this meeting. But most of all, Heavenly Father, we thank you, Heavenly Father, for our children, their innocence, Heavenly Father. Heavenly Father, we ask that you continue to put a hedge of protection around them. Heavenly Father, so that they will grow up to be the kind of people that you would have them to be. Continue to bless them, to bless their families. We ask all these things in Christ's name. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just as a point of order, I think as everyone realizes, we have some special guests here tonight. Many of them got a lot of things to do, so we're going to move forward to our proclamation and then jump back to our public comment period. So I'd like to read this proclamation for the Glynn County Recreation and Parks Boys and Girls Track and Field 2022 All-Star Celebration Day. Whereas the 2022 Glynn County Recreation Parks Department Track and Field qualifying boys and girls demonstrated great athleticism and determination in competing in the Georgia Recreation and Park Association's state track and field meet, and as a result achieved remarkable success. And whereas these incredible individuals finished in the Georgia Recreation Parks and Association state track and field meet with 8 gold, 6 silver, and 8 bronze medals, scoring a total of 271 points, and finished in 5th place overall out of 34 teams from across the state of Georgia. And whereas 2 Georgia Recreation Park Association state records were broken by 12-year-old Ava Mountain, who posted a time of 2 minutes and 33 seconds in the 800-meter race and a time of 5 minutes and 33 seconds in the 1,600-meter race, surpassing by 8 seconds a 27-year-old Georgia Recreation Parks Association state record for the 1,600-meter run. And whereas under the leadership and guidance of the Recreation Program Coordinator and Coach Vanessa Booker, coaches Jasmine Hubbard, Langston Gamble, Demetrius Frazier, Amanda Kirkland, Vandy and Juanita Richardson, Greg and Yolanda Richardson, Brianna Gibson, and the individual athletes placed very high in their respective events and obtained great success. And whereas the Glynn County Board of Commissioners wishes to congratulate these athletes, coaches, and parents for their hard work and dedication in medaling in the state track and field meet. Whereas the team has brought great honor and pride to not only themselves, but also to Glynn County Recreation Parks Department and the Glynn County community. Now therefore be proclaimed by the Glynn County Board of Commissioners that hereby recognizes the 2022 Glynn County track and field athletes for demonstrating tremendous athletic talent and the coaches for dedicating their time and enthusiasm to lead this team to the Georgia Recreation Parks Association State Track and Field Finals, and proclaim today, May 19th, 2022, as Glynn County Track and Field All-Star Celebration Day in Glynn County. If I could have the team and the coaches come forward up here and line up against the rail. And what we're going to do right now, I wanted to recognize some of the participants and those who won medals. As we know, they all participated. So first of all, when I call your name, you'll just raise your hand. If you'll hold all applause until the end, I'd appreciate it. Our gold medalist athletes, Ava Mountain in the 1600 and 800 meter. Ruthie Akins, 1600 meter and 3200 meter. Rachel Daniels, softball, 7 and 8. Raylan Thomas, standing long jump. Samaya J. Fuller, the 100 meter, 200 meter, and the 4x1 relay. Malachi Morrell, 4x1 relay. Cooper Walker, 4x1 relay. Demetrius Frazier, 4x1 relay. Silver medal, McKinley Thomas, 100 meter and running long jump. Caven Diggs, running long jump. Chase Richardson, javelin. Demetrius Frazier, the 50 meters. Zaylin Thomas, the 100 meters. Our bronze medalist, Mackenzie Thomas, shot put. Raylan Thomas, 50 meters and standing long jump. Michaela Morrell, 100 meters. Asha Mountain, 200 meters. Zaylin Thomas, 200 meter, relays 4x1 and 4x4. Brody Marshall, relays 4x1 and 4x4. Malik Thomas, relays 4x1 and 4x4. And Jacob Johnson, relays 4x1 and 4x4. Ladies and gentlemen, your Glynn County track and field team, please give them a big hand. We had a public comment period. Go ahead and do it as it was here. Go ahead and do public comment, and then, is that where we do it? Or, hold on. Add agendas, okay. We'll do public comment. I want to thank everyone for allowing us to make that presentation at the beginning of the meeting. It's exciting to see such a great group of young people and all that they're accomplishing. We'll now move to the public comment portion of our meeting. Public comments are limited to 5 minutes. If we would, when I call your name, if you come forward, state your name and your address, and you have 5 minutes. First public speaker is Mr. Julian Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Julian Smith. My wife and I have enjoyed a home on St. Simon's Island for nearly 40 years. Our address is 61 Maxwell Avenue, and we also enjoy a second home on the mainland at the dead end of Canal Road. Thank you for this opportunity to comment on the Golden Isles Community Sentiment Survey, which you and your supporters in the business community sponsored to help plan a new special purpose local option sales tax referendum to collect tens of millions of dollars over the next 4, 5, or 6 years. You have already received several emails from me regarding this survey. The email I sent on Monday morning is attached to the one I copied to you this morning when I wrote to David Bellin, the consultant from Colorado who presented the results of the survey to you on Monday afternoon. As I pointed out in my email this morning, Mr. Bellin told you this survey was a, quote, statistically valid random sample of convenience, unquote, by which he meant that it was convenient for the sponsors he identified as stakeholders to make sure this survey reached their friends and supporters in the business community. Those sponsors identified on the cover sheet of this report include the Glynn County Board of Commissioners, the Brunswick City Commission, the Golden Isles Chamber of Commerce, Forward Brunswick, the Golden Isles Development Authority, and the Golden Isles Convention and Visitors Bureau. Those stakeholders got what they paid for, a survey that reflected their biases, a convenient survey that did not reflect the diversity of our community. Perhaps that is why the most inconvenient statistics were buried at the very end of this report and PowerPoint presentation, that 92% of the respondents were white and only 5% were black or African American, and 1% were Hispanic or Latino. As I'm sure you know, those percentages do not represent what was reported in the 2020 census of Glynn County. That is 92.7 non-Hispanic white, 24.2 black or African American, and 7.5 Hispanic or Latino. Somehow those unwhite communities got left out of this survey. It is my hope that you will now admit to yourselves that this survey, which was completed by less than 1,300 of the 85,000 full-time residents of Glynn County, will provide no reliable basis for deciding what projects to put on your wish list for SPLOST 2022. A better and more inclusive survey would go to a random sample of registered voters in Glynn County. For instance, you might have staff send 1,000 surveys to randomly selected registered voters in each of the 5 districts and include a stamped return envelope. If there is not enough time to do that this year, then I suggest you begin planning a bare bones 1 or 2 year SPLOST that would benefit joint water and sewer and pay for some of the most desperately needed projects in the most neglected parts of the county outside the Islands District. Meanwhile, I suggest you plan to send out a well-designed survey next year to help you select the projects for a SPLOST referendum in 2024. Thank you for listening, and thank you if you have read my 2 emails regarding this survey. If you haven't read those emails, I hope you will take the time to do so. Finally, I would like to thank Commissioner Tosterson for being honest enough to tell me that he never reads any of my emails. He seems to believe he does not need my help. If that is true, he needs your help. But if the rest of you don't read my emails, God help us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Next speaker is Catherine Ridley. Ms. Ridley.
Right. Hi there, I'm Catherine Ridley. My address is 603 4th Avenue on St. Simons. I just want to thank you all for your investment in the sometimes painful but always necessary process of updating our zoning ordinances. I'm sure there have been times already where it seems like the easiest thing is to abandon it entirely, but I urge you and I urge all of us to keep going and not to give up. After decades of waiting, we finally have the chance to bring Glynn County into the 21st century, and we can't afford to let this opportunity pass us by. I've participated in this update over the past several years for many reasons, but the primary one being my role as the coordinator for the St. Simons Island Sea Turtle Project and as a member of the Georgia Sea Turtle Cooperative. I'm on the beach from May through October, and I've been fortunate to get to know many, actually hundreds of people across our community. I'm grateful that even when we don't always agree on a lot, we can all come together for sea turtles. As you all know, our coastal wildlife are a huge driver of our tourism, our economy, and of our quality of life. One of the biggest challenges continues to be the issue of light pollution. In the zoning ordinance, lighting is actually covered as a design standard. Artificial lighting harms sea turtles by preventing adults from nesting, and it causes hatchlings to become misoriented. Meanwhile, the cumulative sky glow from across Glynn County impacts turtles as far away as Sapelo and Blackbeard Islands. I've worked with turtles here in Glynn County for more than 20 years, and for the last 20 years, I've fielded questions from residents and tourists alike about why we can't or won't do more to protect them, like all coastal communities in Florida do, and locally, Jekyll Island, who updated their strong and effective beach lighting ordinance, one that I should note has certainly not impacted development or stymied growth for their island. Lighting is just one example of how Glynn County's zoning misses the mark. It doesn't do what it was intended to do, it isn't enforced, its technical details are woefully outdated, and architects and builders often don't understand what to do or why it matters. Our sea turtle partners and I are left then to deal with the problems after the fact, when it would have been far simpler to bring us in and work collaboratively from the beginning. Which brings me to my concerns about the proposed makeup of our zoning committee. For our community to truly trust this process and for our ordinances to be effective in practice and not just on paper, we need a balanced team of experts and technical advisors involved from the get-go. I heard your suggestion that this committee should be made up of the people who use the information on a regular basis, and that the broader public could weigh in on things like aesthetics later. Very respectfully, I'm not concerned about aesthetics. The other members of the Sea Turtle Cooperative and I engage with the zoning ordinance every day. We conduct lighting surveys, we go door to door to respond to issues, we talk to property owners. We rely on these ordinances to do our jobs. We are technical advisors as much as builders and developers are. This is only, of course, one example of many. Our zoning ordinance determines how much traffic we sit in, whether our neighborhoods flood, and the amount of green space that's available for all of our children to play in. Zoning matters to all of us, not just to a select few, and we all deserve the chance to be heard. That's why, once again, I want to urge you to consider expanding the committee to include a small additional representation from a more diverse set of community experts who can contribute these valuable technical perspectives and the relevant expertise that's currently missing from the committee's current makeup. Finally, I understand your desire to make our ordinances as easy to understand as possible, but I also ask you to consider that brevity doesn't always equal clarity. It's been my experience that problems most often arise when those who are interpreting the ordinances don't have the full breadth of information that they need. Over the past 2 weeks, we've heard multiple suggestions that perhaps entire sections of the draft ordinance, including the design standards where lighting lives, should simply be thrown out. That sort of rhetoric does not set us up for success or give our community confidence in the outcome. I know you want the public to have faith in this update, and I'm sure this isn't a process that you want to redo anytime soon. So that's why before we go any further, we should really take the time to get this right from the very beginning. Please expand this important committee and ensure an inclusive zoning process that represents everyone who loves Glynn County. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Ridley. We appreciate it. Our third speaker is Mr. Jim Frash. And if I mispronounced your last name, please let me know.
My name is Jim Frachet.
Jim Frache, I apologize.
Quite all right. Good evening. My name is Jim Frachet. My wife, Roby, and I live at 11 Deepwater Drive on St. Simon's Island, and we've watched the evolution of this community for nearly the last 50 years. I'd like to make a statement and request concerning the rewrite of the Glynn County ordinances. There is what I think is a misleading effort to describe the ordinance rewrite draft as just a technical document, and to say that representatives of a very narrow slice of Glynn County business who use the ordinances every day should not only control the technical input, but also control input to issues like the related concerns of water quality, environmental objectives, tree preservation, lots of record, etc. The design does not serve the avowed purpose as set forth in the Glynn County Comprehensive Plan. That purpose from the plan and from the diagnostic report is to, quote, improve the quality of life for the county's residents and to ensure, quote, that development is consistent with the community's vision of its future. What is that community vision of our future? There are many references to our values in Glynn County and how important it is for the ordinance to reflect those values. There are very few actual indications as to what those values are. You may think you know. I may disagree. About 2 weeks ago, a member of the Select Committee publicly said that we are a, quote, conservative community, that this draft ordinance rewrite is a, quote, liberal document, and will, quote, ruin everything with, quote, unintended consequences. The way I see it as an island resident, the rewrite is a vehicle to bring order to chaos and to manage development for the benefit of local taxpayers and local voters' quality of life. The closest thing I can find to an actual statement of values is in the Glynn County Comprehensive Plan. Quote, Glynn County has developed this comprehensive plan to plot the future course for the unincorporated county while recognizing and preserving the unique characteristics of the island communities and the mainland. This comprehensive plan is intended to celebrate what is special about Glynn County while also encouraging the kind of economic revitalization that will improve the quality of life for the county's residents, end quote. Envision Glynn tells us that we strive for planned and managed growth, end quote. The unique beauty, environmental, and employment characteristics of Glynn County require that growth and economic development be both promoted and properly managed, end quote. There's a repeated reference throughout the plans and all these other documents to managed development and repeated references to quality of life, not just in those documents, but also pervasively throughout the notes and comments that were gathered during the public comment period over the last couple of years through which this rewrite has been proceeding, including my own. After the technical folks figure out the technical issues, they're probably not the same people who should decide how to apply that to zoning and other ordinances. It would be like having an engineer design your marketing plan, or allowing a developer to set drainage standards, or to allow an environmental scientist to specify wind uplift ratings on your roofing. None of those are appropriate. Adopted standards, technical specifications, have to be implemented and enforced within the requirements for development to be managed for the benefit of our quality of life, not for the benefit of some narrow subset of society or business. Management is not liberal. Following the plan is not liberal. Following the plan and managing development for the improved quality of life of the people is not liberal. Adding observers to the process is not a way to broaden the committee's expertise. If you will not reconstitute the committee, then you need to please include quality of life advocates and managed growth advocates to each step of the process, even the technical ones, before and during all the decision steps. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. That ends our public comment period. This opportunity, I would like to ask commissioners, do we have any additions to the agenda?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I propose to add these items to the consent agenda. The first one is I move to add item 6.1 to the published consent agenda to accept the right-of-way for Capitol Square Drive is created with the final plat for the Capitol Square subdivision Phase 1 dated October 3, 2011, and recorded in deed book 32, page 57, as public right-of-way.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second by Commissioner Booker. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. That'll be added to the agenda.
Secondly, I would move to add item number 14 to the published agenda to approve the intergovernmental agreement with the City of Brunswick for the provision of temporary supplemental police services to the city.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Neal, second by Commissioner Booker. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. That passes unanimously. That'll be added.
Thirdly, I move to add item number 15 to the published agenda to consider having the board, A, authorize the planning commissions to appoint 2 non-members to the Special Zoning Ordinance Review Planning Commission Subcommittee approved April 21, 2022, to appoint Commissioner Walter Rafalski to the Special Zoning Ordinance Review Planning Commission Subcommittee. C, direct the subcommittee to have an organizational meeting on May 23, 2022, to refine and finalize its procedures, timeline, and plan for public input. And D, direct the subcommittee to submit its procedures, timeline, and plan for public input to the Board of Commissioners for consideration at its meeting on June 2nd, 2022.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. That item will be added to the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve our consent agenda for General Business and Personnel Committee.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Neal, I made a mistake. I have two more proclamations before we go there.
Wonderful.
You know, I apologize. I didn't read the agenda properly. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Before we go to the consent agenda approvals, we do have 2 more proclamations. By putting the first proclamation up front, I made a mistake and forgot to make sure that we come back to item 2 and 3. So I'll read the second proclamation. Proclamation of National Beach Safety Week 2022. Whereas the beautiful coastal and inland beaches of Glynn County represent a world-renowned recreation resource, and whereas Glynn County residents and visitors alike are drawn to these beaches by millions each year for water and beach activities, and whereas the aquatic environment has dangers, particularly rip currents and longshore currents that can be effectively managed through public awareness and the vigilance of professional lifeguards. And whereas the 2021 Glynn County Recreation and Parks Beach Life Team performed 173 water assist and 6 water rescues and provided first aid treatment to 450 beachgoers while being extremely understaffed. And whereas for reasons of public safety, an annual reminder of the joys and hazards associated with aquatic environment is appropriate at the commencement of the busy summer beach season. And whereas the Glynn County residents and visitors alike must remember, learn to swim, swim near a lifeguard, swim with a buddy, use sunscreen and drink water, obey posted signs, flags, keep the beach and water clean, learn rip current safety, enter water feet first, and wear a life jacket. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Glynn County Board of Commissioners that May 23rd through 30th, 2022 shall be recognized as National Beach Safety Week in Glynn County, and that all county lifeguards and first responders involved in beach operations shall be recognized for their efforts to keep beachgoers and swimmers safe as they enjoy the beaches this summer. In witness thereof, I set my hand on this day, the 19th of May, 2022. If I could please have our lifeguard, Miss Lisa Gerganis, and do we have lifeguards with us? Is that correct? Yes, please come up and address us.
Commissioner, thank you for making this proclamation tonight. Our beach lifeguard team, they're an amazing group of young people led by Paris Weiland-Kuntz, who is our beach program manager. They work hard all summer. Most of these guys are returning from last year, and so some of them are new this year, but we're very fortunate to have them. We work well with our fire department and our police department in performing rescues at the beach and keeping our folks safe. And I'm so proud of them. I'm proud of the efforts. They've been training hard, working hard, and they're ready to go for Memorial Day weekend. I don't know if I know all the names. Some of them are new. I know this is Jacob. I'll let you introduce yourself. This is exactly who it is.
Quincy, can I read it from down here? Good. Our final proclamation is recognizing National Safe Boating Week 2022. For nearly 100 million Americans, boating continues to be a popular recreational activity. From coast to coast and everywhere in between, people are taking to the water and enjoying time together, boating, sailing, paddling, and fishing. During National Safe Boating Week, the U.S. Coast Guard and its federal, state, and local safe boating partners encourage all boaters to explore and enjoy America's beautiful waters responsibly. Safe boating begins with preparation. The Coast Guard estimates that human error accounts for most boating accidents and that life jackets could prevent nearly 86% of boating fatalities. The basic boating safety procedures, carrying life-saving emergency distress and communication equipment, wearing life jackets and attending safe boating courses, participating in free boating safety checks, and staying sober when navigating, we can help ensure that boaters on America's coast, inland, and offshore waters stay safe throughout the season. National Safe Boating Week is observed to bring attention to the important life-saving tips for recreational boaters so they can have a safer, more fun experience out on the water throughout the year. Whereas the average of 650 people die each year in boating-related accidents in the U.S., 79% of these fatalities caused by drowning. And whereas the vast majority of the accidents are caused by human error or poor judgment and not by the boat, equipment, or environmental factors. Whereas a significant number of boaters who lose their lives by drowning each year would be alive today had they worn their life jackets. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Glynn County Board of Commissioners do hereby support the goals of Safe Boating Campaign and proclaim May 21st through 27th, 2022 as National Safe Boating Week and the start of the year-round effort to promote safe boating and urge all those who boat to practice safe boating habits and to wear life jackets at all times while boating. In witness thereof, I set my hand upon this proclamation the 19th day of May 2022. I believe Attila Captain Commander Mr. DeBose, are you here? Is that correct? Please come forward, sir. And this is Mr. Lancaster, is that correct?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I represent the Coast Guard Flotilla 1010 here in Glynn County. Thank you for your dedication to recreational boating in the Golden Isles. National Safe Boating Week highlights Coast Guard and Coast Guard Auxiliary efforts to ensure boaters' safety to operate their vessels in the waterways. The auxiliary main goal is recreational boating safety. This is accomplished by educating the operators and helping those operators know what safety equipment is required for their vessel. The coming major national holidays are also major recreational boating days. The active, reserve, and auxiliary arms of the Coast Guard will be on duty to promote boating safety. All these units appreciate the recognition by the County Commission to emphasize the importance of boating safety here in the Golden Isles. On behalf of the Coast Guard, thank you for this representation.
All right, do we have a motion for the consent agenda?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the items on the consent agenda for General Business and Personnel Committee, except for any item any commissioner might wish to pull.
Second.
I have a motion for the consent agendas by Commissioner Neal, second by Commissioner Booker. Do we have any further discussion or any item anyone wishes to pull? If not, we'll take a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. That passes unanimously. We'll move into our public hearing portion of the meeting. Public hearings will be limited to 30 minutes for each opposing side, with 5 minutes allocated to each individual speaker. Comments are to be limited to relevant information regarding your position and should avoid being repetitious. If you or your group has a spokesperson, please allow that individual to present your group's position in the time allocated. Your cooperation in this process is greatly appreciated. Item number 8. ZM 5009, Royal Woods Planned Development District. Request to rezone approximately 9 acres from local commercial to one-family residential R12 to Planned Development District to allow one-family, duplex, triplex, and quadplex development, as well as use as accessory to the residential use. The subject property is located at 953 and 967 Old Jessup Road, parcel numbers 0303913 and 0303914. Jake Howtower, Robert Civil Engineering, agent for Ms. Matei Cruz, owner and applicant. Ms. Thompson.
Good evening. Pamela Thompson, Director of Community Development. As you said, this is a rezoning request for Planned Development District to allow medium-density residential, one-family, duplex, triplex, and quadplex. This is an aerial zoning map showing the location of the property on Old Jessup Road. Here's the background. It's 9 acres that's currently zoned R12 and LC, proposing to request to PD. The original proposed density was 10 units per acre. That would mean up to 90 units. The local commercial property is 3.83 acres, and the density of R12 property is 3.63 units per acre. This is a survey of the site. Here's the existing single-family dwelling. Here are photographs of the surrounding area. This is the proposed PD text, and you received this in your agenda packet. This is the proposed master plan. Again, a copy you could zoom in was sent in your agenda packet. The Mainland Planning Commission held a duly noticed public hearing on May 3rd and voted 6-1 with Commissioner Clark opposed to recommend that the Board of Commissioners approve ZM 5009 with the following conditions: that a traffic study be required to be submitted at the time of construction plans, that amend the PD text to exclude townhomes and to amend the PD text to indicate the maximum density is 7 units per acre as opposed to the 10 they had originally proposed. Here are your possible actions and the possible motion showing the conditions recommended by the Mainland Planning Commission. That concludes the staff report, and Jake Hightower, agent for the owner, is here to state the applicant's case.
Mr. Hightower, would you like to come and address the board before we open the public hearing?
Good evening. Thank you for your time tonight. Jake Hightower with Robert Civil Engineering. As staff reported, that we are trying to rezone this property for what would be more in line with general residential. General residential is 10 units per acre. We were amenable to the MPC recommendation of 7 units per acre. At the time of the MPC, we also were provided a conceptual plan that we were able to look at with the folks who were in attendance. If you would like, I can put that on the screen as well, but that's, like I said, we did go over that at the MPC, but happy to go over that as well again if you would like me to. We also did agree to a traffic study. So this traffic study was agreeable, and it was not part of the county comments. They just said that the driveway alignments need to be coordinated with the county since it's a county road. The current right-of-way is 50 feet. The arterial right-of-way would be 80 feet, and so we agreed that, and this actually isn't in the condition, but we're going to go ahead and put 15 feet in addition to the typical 10-foot type E buffer. And in addition to that, we also, at the request of some of the folks in attendance at the MPC, we said we would not do townhomes, so we're striking that from our plan as well. At this time, I ask that you would approve this PD text as presented and available for any questions as well.
Commissioners, before we begin our public comment, are there any questions for Mr. Hightower? If not, we'll begin our public comment portion of the public hearing.
Thank you.
Can't speak tonight for some reason. All those who are opposed to this rezoning of ZM 5009, please come forward, state your name and address, and state your case. Yes, ma'am. If you can go to the microphone so that everybody who's watching online can hear you.
I'm sorry.
No, not at all.
I have a paper here from, my name is Brenda Cross, and I'm sorry I talked too loud.
No, you're welcome to talk as loud as you want.
My family is the Boyd family, and we've lived where I live now for 120 years. And what I'd like to tell you, sweetheart, is I got a divorce and I moved back there 9 years ago. And this road that we live on, and I would love for y'all to do this for me. I would love, you know, you have these things on the side of the road that would tell you how much, what's how fast you're going. I would like for y'all to put 2 of them on both sides and find out how many cars come down my road. Because I know that we have 1,000 cars that come down our road every day. And I know in my heart that y'all love all of me, you love me, and I do anything in this world for y'all. And what it is I've got 3 ladies that live around me, and 2 of them are very sick. And this is my friend that lives across the street from me, and I love her dearly. And we live by ourselves. We have nobody to take care of us, which I'd love to have a man or a husband, but I don't have it. But what I'm saying, we don't want this company to come in here and build all these houses. When I lived there many, many years ago, it was a chicken farm. They raised chickens, and the man, he had seeds and all this kind of stuff. Well, he's been gone for a long time. Well, that house that you showed is next door. That house has been rotting down for 4 years. And you didn't see no pretty house. You didn't see our houses. You seen a rotten house that's been sitting there that people would move in and just destroy it and get on out. You know, like live there and not have it. And I'm asking you, every one of you, I know every one of you's got plenty of money, and we don't. I'm asking every one of you, would you like this in your front yard? Can you tell me yes or no? Would you like to have them apartments in your front yard? Can you tell me yes or no? I mean,
Cross, this is
to-
an opportunity for you to tell us. We generally don't speak back to
You
you
don't-
this time.
you don't
That's
have
a
to
public
answer me.
hearing, but
But-
it's your
but what I'm-
opportunity for you to
but what
say
I'm
what you would like to
saying,
say. So
have
you've posed
mercy
the
for
question
us.
to us.
Because we're humble people. We've been there for many, many years, and we don't want something coming in there that might be low income, which Driftwood Trailer Park is one of the worst trailer parks in Glynn County, and it's just right here. And that needs to have something done to it. But our place where we live is a good place, and we're good, sweet women, and we take care of our place, and we want y'all to say no, if you will. If you love us, say no.
Thank you,
Okay?
ma'am.
And here's the papers from Boyd's Drive and Old Jessup, okay?
You'll pass it to the officer
And this,
behind you.
this is one of my friends, and he's got maps of when all this was sold.
Okay.
Gentlemen, my name is Robbie Tucker. I live at 11 Wausau Island Circle in Riverside. I have property right down the street. I know Miss Brenda, Miss Virginia, been knowing them for a long time, and I just got involved in this a couple of days ago, maybe a week or so, and realized they are trying to develop the apartments right there across the street. And I remember when that was a feed store, I think, and a towing service yard. And I spoke to the neighbors, several of them, and some of them don't want to get involved with the local government, which I encourage them to. I said, we can work it out with the government. We're not here to cast stones. We're here to work with the government. And these ladies here are up in age, like most of us will be, and they don't need this over there. It's already got them upset. They've probably got health problems. We all do. And this is just going to cause unnecessary stress. The road's not wide enough. The traffic's bad enough as it is. The property was bought within 6 months ago, and they're trying to turn around and build condos there or apartments complex there. So it's just a business thing. This is their property. This is their lives. And they don't want it destroyed and upset. So I ask you guys to think about it and use good wisdom. These ladies, let them live there as long as they can, peacefully, and let life move forward gracefully. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak against ZM 5009? Please come forward and state your name.
My name is Timothy Johnson, and I live about a half mile from the proposed development, very close to the Canal Road where it intersects with Old Jessup. My mother-in-law lives directly across from where the planned development is. The traffic on Old Jessup was impacted when they started the development at the end of Canal Road. And since the development, there have been 3 traffic lights and a turn lane. But at peak times during the day, Canal Road and Walker Road, where it intersects Old Jessup, is still bottlenecked and traffic is backed up. This other part, I don't know how important it is, but I thought I'd bring it up anyway. During the Planning Commission meeting, it was stated that any traffic issues arising from the property would be temporary because Old Jessup Road is going to have to be widened to 4 lanes eventually. Well, I think that's already been resolved in 2007. In Brunswick News, $18 million was taken up with SPLOSH to expand 2.8 miles to 5 lanes. That was eventually canceled and deemed not feasible. I'm just going to read this little part here. As it stands, this was the widening in 2007. 34 homes and trailers and 7 businesses would be displaced. So I just don't want people to think that you put a project in like this and the traffic issues are going to be temporary because they're going to widen Old Jessup Road. That issue's pretty well been resolved. That's not going to happen, I don't believe. This project is very big, and it's right at the section of the highway this is most impacted right now. So just to conclude, we also need to think about our emergency vehicles responding from Ballard with the more traffic on the road. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak against ZM 5009 in opposition? Speak against ZM 5009. Yes, sir. Please come forward. Please state your name.
Butch Geiger. I live on Boyd Drive and have for 60-something years. And I remember when Mr. Hossie had the business there, you know, and it's just that not really against developing the land, but that poor old highway can't take no more traffic and congestion than it already has. I know it's a mess in the mornings, levels off a little bit during the day, but in the afternoons. And then they got those double lights up there, not a single, well, maybe one of them has a turn arrow on it, the other two don't. And it's just that, I mean, I know what'll happen, I think I do, but once it gets passed and all, and things kind of fade away, I guess, or get lost. But I would like to see that traffic survey they promised to do and see what it looks like, because believe me, I know what it is, and I'm pretty sure they'll find out, you know, what it's like, and I don't know if they'll like what they see, but any afternoon you want to go over there, you can see it, and people talk about it on the radio, on the talk show, and Scott Ripon knows what this is, because he used to live in Northwood Estates, and he's well aware of the traffic problems we have out there, and it's just, and I remember what Tim was talking about. I remember when they surveyed that whole Old Jessup Road and they were going to widen it, and we got all excited about it, you know, and next thing you know, they go to pulling up survey stakes and all this, and still the same old two-old lane Old Jessup Road. So I just don't think that, you know, the road can handle the traffic. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you coming forward. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak against ZM 5009? Anyone else in opposition to ZM 5009? If not, we'll close that portion of the public hearing. We'll ask for those who would like to speak in favor of ZM 5009 to come forward. Those in favor, please come forward and state your name.
Good afternoon, County Commissioners. My name is Maite Cruz, and I'm putting a face, Ms. Brenda, to this wonderful project. I'm a single lady, which I work very hard. I work 14, 16 hours a day. I own 2 restaurants. This project, I look at it like my retirement. I promise to you, I will be your neighbor, and I'm a wonderful person. I have no husband, and I'm not scared. Okay? I'm 60 years old. So I'm bringing you a wonderful housing. It's not going to be a mobile home park, and I hope everybody in here understand, and we're going to do it right. We're going to try to resolve. My son lives in Rochelle Road, and he's been living in there for almost 5 years. He bought a house, and I asked him, how is the traffic? He told me, I never have a problem. I understand, but we live in places for a long time. I understand we get scared, and I understand we're scared to changes. We all do. I either do. I might work and come and live in that neighborhood too, because I wanted to retire, and this is my retirement. It's not a big company. I'm a single lady with 3 children, and I raise my kids by myself too. So County Commissioners, I hope you approve this project, and I promise to you whatever we have to do to make the traffic more, like Mr. Jack is the specialist in this. I'm a chef. I'm not an engineer. But I promise to you we're going to do things right, and it's going to be beautiful, and it's not going to be something that's going to bring criminals to the area. We can improve the value of the properties for these wonderful neighbors. Thank you so much. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak in favor of ZM 5009? Speak in favor.
Again, Jay Keitar with Robert Civil. I'd like to address a few points in favor of this project. Today, I went ahead and called one of the traffic engineers, and he did a preliminary look at it just to see real fast what the site was versus what the road says. And he said that he can do a traffic study for us. And just in the preliminary look, he does think that it will be an XL lane or a decel lane, but he is not concerned at this time. But again, he's going to get his stamp on it. And when we did it with the MPC, we went ahead and said, we'll do that traffic study, which is going to be a pretty large cost to Ms. Cruz out of her pocket. The Coastal Club, which we did down the street, we did a traffic count for that development during the site plan phase. There was not a traffic study required at the beginning, but we are willing to do it for this one out of good faith to show that we're willing to do what we can to make sure that this will be a good, solid development. Just to correct a couple things that were said, these are not apartments. These are going to be single-story duplexes and quadplexes and triplexes. All single-story, not apartments, not multifamily. They're going to be individually parceled pieces of land. And then also, in addition, just, I guess, Ms. Cruz, I can only speak to the technical details, so I'll leave it at that, but I'll also be available if y'all have any questions as well.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of ZM 5009? Anyone else in favor? If not, we'll close public hearing. It's closed. Commissioners, any comments, questions that you may have at this point?
Mr. Chairman, I think we all realize the challenges on Old Jessup Road. And the challenge is there's no right-of-way. And so it's problematic to try to think about an expressway going through there when, you have to acquire right-of-way. I'm going to make a motion to defer this until after we have the traffic study. I think we've sort of got the cart in front of the horse here. And I think that if I were the applicant, I would want to have a traffic study done. I think there could be a myriad of issues that beyond egress and ingress that may have to be addressed, and I'd rather be proactive about it than trying to react to something after the fact. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion to defer ZM 5009 until the traffic study is completed. Can I do that, Mr. Council? Thank you.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? I have a motion by Commissioner Brunson, a second by Commissioner Rafalski. Any further discussion? Yes.
Yeah, I would like to add it, since this project is in my district. I don't think the traffic study, really is going to help with this problem. We all, I know I go that route a lot to Canal and go visit my niece. And you can study it for 100 years. Unless we widen that road, it's going to bring a lot more traffic there. And I wouldn't want to live over there. Just when I go through there at peak times, and even non-peak times, it's tough. So to live over there, I can only imagine. And so I just don't, with this kind of density, I don't think that it's something that I could support. And so I don't know, maybe I would suggest Ms. Cruz getting with the neighbors and seeing if there's something that they might think would work as a much less density, if it's something that you still want to do over there. But it's going to increase the traffic significantly. You can study it all day, but I just don't see how that's going to work. So I can't support the deferment of it. But anyway, that's just where I'm at.
Ms. Thompson, could you come forward, please? The address is 953 and 967 Old Jessup Road, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Parcel numbers 0303913 and 0303914, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Could I get a clarification on which district that's in? Do we know?
I have not checked it today, but our staff checked it after the last meeting, and it was in Commissioner Booker's district.
Okay, I just want to be sure. There seemed to be a little bit of confusion up
I
here.
thought it was in my district.
I didn't check it myself, but I'm happy to double check.
Before I retire after 8 years, I'm gonna figure out where my district is. I spent half of my life campaigning in Commissioner Booker's district, and,
I tell you this, I'll ask the election superintendent to verify tomorrow, and I'll mail the full board whose district this property's in.
well, I can guarantee you one thing, District 4 and District 5 are the most convoluted districts on the planet of the earth. There are no more confusing districts.
Well, now that we've got that cleared, Commissioner Fendig, your comments?
Yep. Pam, let me ask you a question, just, so in the documents, the future land use projection on this property was recommended to be medium-density residential, like R9 to R20.
Yes, sir.
Most of what we were opening the door for her, if we approved it, looks like R2 and R4 type density, as much as 10 units or up to 90, and that, isn't this dramatically also increasing the density on this property? I mean, we're deferring, but I'd like to know for sure.
I guess that depends on your definition of dramatically, but yes, it is increasing the density. They are requesting a density increase.
I thought it was the motion was for 7 per unit versus 9, is that correct?
Correct. They originally asked for 10 per unit per acre, 10 units per acre, and they agreed to accept the condition proposed by Mainland Planning Commissioner of 7 units per acre.
Okay. Just wanted clarification.
Yeah.
You know, the purpose of the deferral for the traffic study is it could potentially affect the density. I mean, everything's a moving target there, so.
Mr. Hightower, do you have a comment you'd like to?
Just to clarify Commissioner Fendig's question, by us removing townhomes, that's removing the R2 out of the equation, so it's only going to be the 4,500 square foot minimums, which are in line with a lot of the PD text. That's kind of what we use as our basis from what's already been approved, but that R2000 is completely struck out since there will be no townhomes. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Commissioners, we have a motion on the floor for a deferment by Commissioner Brunson, a second by Commissioner Rafalski. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Motion passes 5-2. Item number 9, ZM 5012, Chancellor Crossing Plan Development District. Request to amend the Chancellor Crossing Plan Development PD Text ZM 2007-027 to allow for additional types of residential uses within all areas of the PD. The PD is located at 4972 and 5102 Highway 99, parcels 03-21099 and 03-21100. Jake Hightower, Robert Civil Engineering Agent for RM and SP LLC, Southern Real Property, Inc., Rick O. Smith and Daniel R. Cody, owners. Ms. Thompson.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Pamela Thompson, Director of Community Development. Again, this is 26.46 acres. It's currently vacant and undeveloped, and the request is to adopt a PD zoning district to allow for highway, commercial, and medium residential uses. The PD text currently allows highway commercial uses and multifamily uses at 16 units per acre. The master plan shows a strip center, office buildings, storage units, and residential row housing. The applicant's requesting to amend this PD text to allow for all all residential units that are permitted in medium residential. The highway commercial uses would remain the same, and the revised master plan would show both highway commercial and medium residential uses allowed in all areas of the PD as opposed to only certain sections. This is the aerial zoning map showing the property. Just for your information, and this was included in the agenda packet, these are the difference between what's allowed currently, the multifamily residential, versus all uses, which includes single-family, duplex, the multifamily, cluster housing, group dwellings, townhouses, and time-sharing units. This is the current master plan. This is the revised master plan, and you did receive a plan that you can zoom in on in your agenda packet. And note 17 does state that highway commercial and residential uses will be allowed in all areas of the PD. At the Mainland Planning Commission, nearby residents expressed the following concerns: that placement of a possible convenience store, the placement of a possible convenience store and other commercial units, where the entrances and exits of the property would be located, the placement of buffers against the adjoining residential properties, and concerns that traffic backups at nearby railroad crossing would be made worse by increased development. Planning Commissioner Bill Edgy expressed concern about the possibility of billboards along State Route 99 on the property, and Planning Commissioner Missy New wished to know the density of nearby developments. The Mainland Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend to you that ZM 5012 be approved as presented. These are your possible actions. That concludes the staff report, and Jake Hightower, as the agent, is here to present the applicant's case.
Mr. Hightower, before we start the public hearing, would you like to come forward to address the board?
Thank you for your time tonight, Commissioners. Jake Hightower with Robert Civil Engineering, the agent for this project. This one, as you could see in the previous master plan, when our client came to us and said, "I'd like to develop this piece of property, what can I do?" In our due diligence, we just asked county staff if we're going to go forward, are we required to abide by this master plan that allows for or basically just this specifies exactly this strip center here, these row houses and this, and they said, yeah, you'd have to go exactly by this. And so in doing so, our request is to remove this current master plan. We included a new hatched master plan, and then also during the last MPC, we showed two different alternatives that we're looking at for the current use, which includes medium residential housing on the triangular piece, and then a single-family housing on the left, basically in line, duplexes around the perimeter, in line with Cottage Grove to the south. And then we were talking also about a convenience store, as you can see up in this corner right here. So that's kind of the background as to how we're here, and I ask that you approve this PD text amendment as presented. Thank you. And also available for any questions. Thank you.
Could you go back to the map that showed where the convenience store may be placed?
Commissioner Tossin, it's not up there. It's on a conceptual plan that's not part of the packet, because if we decide not to do the convenience store, we don't want to be handcuffed to that plan and have to go forward with it. If you'd like, I have it where I can present it, but we don't have it part of this packet.
You just, from the general map there, you can't just point
Yes, sir.
out where it might be?
Yes, sir. It's going to be in this, our thoughts are going to be in this top corner, kind of in line with Highway 99. One of the stipulations from the first PD text approval was that there would be additional right-of-way dedicated, because this is the railroad right here, and there were talks of potentially having an overpass right here from the, for passing over this area. And so that's still included as that'll be 50 foot reserved for future use, and then we'll buffer off of that as needed in addition to so then we'll put the convenience store right below that.
All right, any other questions, commissioners? Go ahead.
I have one quick question. It may be for Pam. The PD text as it sits, does it include billboards into that zoning?
Yes, sir, it does.
Could that be amended?
Yes, sir. They are not requesting that that section of the current be amended, but the fact that they're asking you to amend it, you can choose to amend any section of it you wish.
I will begin with the public hearing portion. Now, we'll ask that those who are against ZM 5012, please come forward to speak against ZM 5012. As you come forward, please state your name for the record. Anyone to speak against ZM 5012? If not, we'll close out that portion of the public hearing. We'll open up those who wish to come forward and speak for ZM 5012. Any of those that wish to speak in favor of ZM 5012? All right, we have no one else speaking in favor, so we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners, any comments or questions? Any discussion? Any motions?
Mr. Chairman, I will look for the motion that was up there before. Let me read it from mine, I think.
Apologize.
I make a motion to approve the proposed zoning decision as recommended by the Mainland Planning Commission.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Neal, a second by Commissioner Booker. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, rate. Go ahead, I'm sorry, Commissioner Thompson.
Well, I would like to put an amendment into the motion if that's possible. Mr. Attorney?
I think it's just easier to maybe withdraw the motion and then start over.
Excuse me?
It's better just to withdraw the motion and then start over, if that's possible.
Commissioner Neal, you made the motion. Do you wish it to be voted on at this time, or would you withdraw it so he can make an
Looking at
amendment?
billboards.
Commissioner Thompson, please speak in the mic.
All right, I can amend my motion to approve the proposed zoning decision as recommended by the Mainland Planning Commission, but to eliminate billboards from this site. Is that acceptable, Mr. Attorney?
That is, and if there's no objections to that from the board as a whole, that can be understood as an amendment to that motion.
Okay, Commissioner Neal has amended his motion. Is there any objections to his amendment? No? All right, so we have a amended motion on the floor by Commissioner Neal. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a amended motion by Commissioner Neal, a second by Commissioner Booker. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. That passes unanimously. Item number 10, ZM 5027, Christian Renewal Ministries, request to rezone all of parcel 03-09176, 4265 Norwood Street Extension, number 4 and number 6, to Highway Commercial Zoning District. The parcel currently has a split zoning classification of Highway Commercial and M21 Family Residential, M21 Family Residential. Mark Linton, Christian Renewal Ministries, owner. Ms. Thompson.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Pamela Thompson, Director of Community Development. As you said, this is 4.41 acres that currently has split zoning. It is the site of Heritage Christian Academy. The applicant's requesting to rezone all of the property so that they can actually remove the existing mission house and replace it with new modular classroom buildings. The location of the existing house is in the currently residentially zoned portion of the parcel. So they want to make sure, and also 2 of their buildings straddle that zoning line. So they just want to get the property of all one zoning so they can continue the use as a private school. This is the aerial zoning map. You can see the split zoning across the parcel. This is the map showing the proposed modular buildings. The Mainland Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend to you that ZM 5027 be approved as presented. That concludes the staff report, and I believe the applicant's here if you have any questions.
Mr. Linton, do you wish to come forward and speak to the board at this time, or are you good? Okay. Do we have anyone, and we'll start the public hearing portion of this hearing. Is anyone who wishes to speak against ZM 5027? Anyone who would wish to speak in opposition of ZM 5027? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll close that portion of the public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of ZM 5027? Anyone who would like to come and speak in favor of ZM 5027? Seeing no one come forward, we'll close the public hearing at this time. Commissioners, is there any questions or any motions?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the proposed zoning decision as recommended by the Mainland Planning Commission.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Rafalski, a second by Commissioner Neal and Commissioner Tostenson. Is there any further discussion on this? All in favor, raise your right hand. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Item number 11, appointments. Consider appointing one citizen to serve the Glynn County Veterans Memorial Park Committee. The term begins immediately and ends December 31st, 2023. Do I open the floor for nominations?
Mr. Chairman, James Vivenzio.
All right, Commissioners, we have on the floor Mr. Vivenzio. Any other nominations? If not, I'm sorry? No, it? Okay. All right, we have a nomination for Mr. Vivenzio as an appointment to the Glynn County Veterans Memorial Park Committee as a nomination. All in favor, please raise your right hand. That nomination passes unanimously. Item 12, ZM 4950, Sinclair Tract Plan Development District Amendment. Request for amendment to Sinclair Plantation Plan Development PD District ZM 2298 to add dredging or the excavation of natural materials as a use of the PD. Subject property is located at 2050 Lawrence Road, St. Simons Island, parcel number 0414278. Jake Hightower, Robert Civil Engineering, agent for Sinclair 1031 LLC. This will remind you, item was deferred from the April 21st, 2022 meeting. If I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken, we had a public hearing at that time. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. The public hearing has already been held and closed.
Thank you very much. Ms. Thompson.
Yes, sir. This is a reminder. You did hear this at your April 21st meeting. This is a request to add the ability to create a lake on the site. This is the property. This 23-acre property is the subject, that's the subject of this request, is for residential dwelling units, and the development plans have not yet been submitted to the county. The applicant plans to construct a lake on the property. This was deferred so that you could get some additional information from the applicant. The applicant has gotten that information to us and let us know that they only plan to construct the approximately 2.5-acre lake at this time. They understand anything larger than that would require an amendment to their master plan. They also said that upon consideration of the comments at the Islands Planning Commission, that they are willing to propose and accept certain conditions on their approval. So this was received from the applicant on May 17th in response to the neighbors' concerns. That the hours of operation would be Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., that there will be no on-site burning. They are not able to disable the backup beeping sounds because of safety reasons. Their plan for, this is confirming their plan for ingress and egress is along Lawrence Road that fronts the property, and the owner agrees to, they do not agree to the yearly approval, so they are asking you to make a decision that is final on this property. Here are your possible actions, and that's a possible motion based on the applicant's submittal on May 17th of conditions they're amenable to. I'm available if you have any questions, and Jake Hightower, agent for the applicant, is available if you have any questions.
Mr. Chairman, I think we beat this thing back and forth, and I think there's been a good conversation with the neighbors, and so I'm going to make a motion to approve ZM 4950 with the following condition. Hours of operations Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. No on-site burning, egress and ingress from Lawrence Road, and as a side note, dust and noise are covered by ordinance. So that's the motion.
Commissioners, we have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion by Commissioner Brunson, a second by Commissioner Neal. Is there any further discussion on this, Commissioners? All in favor, raise your right hand. That is unanimous.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Item 13, consider an ordinance amendment to Section 2-3-3 and 2-3-7 of the Liquor, Malt, and Beverage and Wine Ordinance of Glynn County, permitting the sale of alcohol beverages for consumption on the premises at bowling alleys to begin at 12:30 p.m. on Sundays. Commissioner O'Quinn. Do I have any help from staff on this one? No? Thank you.
Chairman, I can take this one. This one's pretty straightforward. As the agenda item specifies, it will allow bowling alleys to serve alcohol on Sundays, beginning at 12:30.
And I believe this was allowed because there was a change in state law. Is that correct? Okay. Commissioners, are there any comments or questions? Do I have a motion? Okay. No motion on this? Can I make the motion? All right, I'll make the motion. I make the motion to approve the ordinance amendment of sections 2-3-3 and 2-3-7 of the Liquor, Malt, Beverage, and Wine Ordinance of Glynn County, permitting the sale of alcohol beverages for consumption on the premises at bowling alleys to begin at 12:30 p.m. on Sundays. There is a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion by Commissioner O'Quinn, a second by Commissioner Rafalski. Any further discussions? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? That motion passes 6. You just slow. I'm sorry. That motion passes unanimously. All right. It's been one of those nights. I'm sorry. Mr. Attorney, do we have, number 14, okay. Item number 14 is to approve the intergovernmental agreement with the City of Brunswick for provision of temporary and supplemental police services in the city. I believe that report is being offered by whom?
Chairman, the report was authored by our office, so I'll be glad to take this one, if that pleases the board. So in short, Commissioners, we were asked to work with the city to draft an agreement that would allow for temporary supplemental police services upon request from the city if the county had available staff to address that need. So this agreement sets forth the conditions, the details, the understandings of the parties, including reimbursement, compensation to the county, and the mechanics of how that would work upon request. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. If there's any other questions, I can answer those, or I think the chief is also here to answer those, and the city police chief is also here to answer any questions as far as the origin behind the agreement and the need for the agreement.
Commissioners, are there any questions or comments regarding this?
Chief, the only question I've got is, how are the fees calculated? I mean, what was the process for calculating the fees, I guess is what I want to ask.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Commissioner. The way that they came about getting the fees or the cost per hour is that we randomly chose 3 officers who were, as we refer to, slick sleeves or non-ranking, and then 3 ranking sergeant officers randomly who had responded to the City of Brunswick on one call or another in previous past. Those 3 officers were then asked what their current rates were for pay for the slick sleeves as well as for the sergeants, and based upon the aggregate amount between the 3 of each category, that's how the numbers were factored as far as the cost. So you have a pay for a non-ranking officer, and then you have a pay for a sergeant.
There was also a fee in there for the use of the car.
That was going to be calculated, I think, based upon as needed. Instead of paying a flat fee, it would be on per call notification.
Is that the way we understand it?
Right, there's a per day use for each vehicle used, and what we try to do is come up with a an average or a mean, rate, so that we wouldn't have to calculate each officer's rate that day and then have to figure that out. So we tried to get something that would allow us to just come up with something that would reimburse us for actual cost. On some, we may come out behind, some we may come out ahead, but on average, our hope is to come, right out there in that Goldilocks zone of achieving or matching our actual cost on this.
I'm sorry, if I could.
Just to answer your specific question on the mileage, so it was 75 miles a day was the average that they used at 60 cents a mile for $45 per shift.
So there's not a flat rate for this?
There are commissioners. Just to cite off what we have, it's $37 an hour for patrol officers, or $42 an hour for patrol sergeants. And if there's overtime, if this kicks that officer into overtime, they'll pay the overtime rate. So that'll bump up to it'll bump up to be the overtime. But we do specify what those rates are in the agreement.
No, I was at the city meeting last night, so I missed some of this, I guess. If they're fine with this, then I'm good.
They are.
Well, I hope we're flexible on the mileage. On the gas, people are talking about putting another digit on the gas meter when it gets to $10 a gallon. So things are just running so smoothly these days.
Chief, how are we going to, we're currently short-staffed on our police force. How is that going to work out?
Yes, sir, that's a very good question. What we have come to the understanding is that we are short-staffed at current. We cannot always guarantee coverage for the city, but based upon a case-by-case event, we will be able to support when they make the request. We will always stand ready to assist the city of Brunswick, but in the situation that we are now in a shortage ourselves, we cannot guarantee that every time they call, we will have a certain person or a certain amount of officers to send. But what we can do is always guarantee we'll do our best to meet their needs.
Let me ask you this, and what I didn't understand is when we are lending an officer to their force, I guess at that time our officer is under their command, is that correct?
The officer answers to the chief who's in the city of Brunswick, but the officer still has to maintain all SOPs and understanding per the county of Glynn County Police Department. In other words, they're doing the basic understood job of policing, as all police officers do under Georgia Post, but when it comes to direct assignment to something, that will come from the sergeant who may be assigned with him over there. We're looking to have at least one sergeant and officers assigned, working in conjunction with the chief of police there. They will be told where they might need to patrol, et cetera.
Mr. Attorney, is there any liability issues in this arrangement for Glynn County if something bad were to happen?
There's certainly some additional, I think, exposure on this agreement. It doesn't do away with our immunities under law. It doesn't do away with that, but it also does not shift liability to the city. Should something, happen, if something happens, both parties will be involved in any potential claim is the likely result of that. But it does not shift our liability over to them if our officer has a claim against him or her.
Thank you.
And that attorney, that would happen if we were, had somebody, that they were chasing across the county, from the city to the county, right?
That's correct. And mutual aid like this, or just, kind of ad hoc aid happens, from time to time. And my experience is that, if there is a lawsuit, each party is going to be a defendant to that lawsuit. But again, we're not losing our immunities to, or defenses to the claim. We're just having to defend it.
I know from my perspective, crime really doesn't, honor does not honor boundaries. The city is a partner of ours.
Yes,
and
sir.
if we have, in my opinion, if we have the opportunity to help, we should. We do need to know that there is some liability with it. We do trust that we'll work closely with the city and make sure that our officers are not put in harm's way
Yes,
or
sir.
in a situation that would be very compromising, but we do want to help. Any further questions or any motions?
I do have one, and I guess it's to Aaron. I understand the agreement between the city and the county, but the sheriff's office, a deputy sheriff has any county in this state. So they could also, if the county were short, they could call on the sheriff's office?
Absolutely.
Am I correct? And there wouldn't have to be an intergovernmental agreement there because the city is in the county.
That's
It's just-
correct.
Just for clarification.
Yeah, I think the sheriff could certainly assist with mutual aid or just aid in general.
We do this anyway, right?
I think we would. If there were a request for aid, emergency or otherwise, and they asked us, I think we would render that aid.
Sir, also Georgia law states that all law enforcement agencies, when they call for mutual aid assistance, or if there's an emergency existing between one county or the other, one city or the other, one department or the other, there is a requirement that we have to at least try to offer and render assistance. So it would be any jurisdiction within the county assisting Brunswick Police Department, as long as they are Georgia Post certified officers, or higher at the state level or even at the federal level.
Commissioners, do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement with the city of Brunswick for the provision of temporary supplemental police services in the city.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Booker, a second by Commissioner Rafalski. Is there any further discussion on this?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to ask for informational purposes. Since we have done pay adjustments, and I know the city of Brunswick has worked on pay adjustments, where do we sit on recruiting police officers? How many would we have ready to go to the academy? Are we making any headway at all? It's sort of a sidebar to the issue we're looking at tonight, but I would be interested to know.
Yes, sir. Those same questions were entertained in the PAP that we had Wednesday. And just coming from memory, we have 4 cadets that are currently in the academy that will be graduating in the next 5 to 6 weeks. We have another, I believe, 6 that are waiting for the next academy to attend. And I believe we have currently 4 post-certified officers who are waiting to waive in to Glynn County from other departments within the state of Georgia.
And how close would that put us then to our full roster?
If we were to take the 4 plus the additional, I believe, I'm sorry, thank you, Earl. My memory doesn't work that well some days. We currently have 108. We have 4 that are in the academy. We have 3 that are going through current field training, and then we have 20 that are in the applications pool. Boy, my numbers were way off there. Yeah. We are very close to the 4 coming out of the academy. The 3 in the FTO probably have another 4 or 5 weeks to go, and the 20 that are in the applications pool are anywhere from 2 to 3 months from now before they would even graduate or start the academy.
Okay. And is the city having any success on their recruitment?
Yeah, that was going to be my question. Chief Jones, how are you guys doing on recruiting?
Good evening, gentlemen. We have 3 in the academy right now. We have another in the process of recruiting. I think it was 4, either 5, that took the first step in the process today. But we're still hurting, sir, bad. But we do lose officers for higher paying agencies quite regularly.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
We do as well, Chief.
We just lost 2 today to Floodsie, just so that you know, for higher paying positions.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Booker, a second by Commissioner Rafalski. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. That passes unanimously, 7-0. Item number 15, consider having the board authorize the planning commissions to appoint 2 non-members to the Special Zoning Ordinance Review Planning Commission Subcommittee approved on April 21st, 2022. 3 parts to this. Ms. Thompson, go ahead.
Yes, sir. As you all recall, Tuesday, myself, Senior Assistant County Attorney Will Worley, and Planning and Zoning Manager Stephanie Leaf Stephanie Leaf, excuse me, met with you at your work session, discussed the work so far by the Joint Planning Commissions to appoint a zoning ordinance review group. You had some comments and feedback for us to take back to that group, and based on the direction you gave staff at that meeting, Senior Assistant County Attorney Will Worley submitted to you for your consideration, and you've added it to the agenda. A resolution before you that authorizes the planning commissions to appoint 2 non-members to the Special Ordinance Review Planning Commission, to appoint Commissioner Walter Rafalski to the Special Ordinance Review Subcommittee, to direct that subcommittee to have an organizational meeting on this coming Monday, May 23rd, to refine and finalize its procedures, timeline, and plan for public input. And you directed the subcommittee to submit its procedures, timeline, and plan for public input to the Board of Commissioners for its consideration at your June 2nd meeting. Mr. Worley gave that to you. I'm available if you have any questions. We have already reached out to the Zoning Ordinance Review Committee and scheduled and legally noticed the meeting for Monday.
Commissioners, any questions or comments for Ms. Thompson?
This is more for our attorney. I was under the impression that the 2 members that would be added to this commission had to be approved by the Board of Commissioners. Is that not correct?
That is correct. That's correct. Anyone other than planning commissioners that are to be appointed to this board?
I'm having a hard time hearing you.
So any individuals other than planning commissioners should be approved by the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, so could we amend this that those 2 members would have to come back to us for the approval then?
Yes, sir. Our understanding was that it was the 2 citizen members that had already been appointed by that group, George Ragsdale for the islands and Gary Neville for the mainland.
And would we not have to ratify those names then tonight, or would we?
I apologize. That's what the first subletter was intending to do, was to ratify the subcommittee that they selected at their April organizational meeting.
Well, I believe those names should have been on the, as other review, but those.
If the board is ready to appoint those 2 individuals, then I would recommend those individuals be appointed by name as part of this motion.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm having issues with this process, I guess. From my understanding, even the makeup of this planning board commission said the criteria that was set, it really didn't allow for my 2 appointees to even consider this, because having the requirement to meet every Monday, and that's, to me, that's for somebody who can either independently wealthy, retired, or whatever, not for working people. And from my understanding, there was a certain criteria for expertise, technical expertise, and that they didn't feel that they met, and that there were decisions already decided on who those persons would be. I wasn't at the meeting, but I'm really having heartburn with this. While I have a couple people I would like to get on this committee, I think, to give some balance, I'm not even sure, this process, I'm not even comfortable with the process right now. So, we can go back to even with the consultant. I guess I was here certainly when we approved them, but I thought the process would be different. And I don't know where we're going to be once we get to the end of this. I know it's important. I know we have to get it done, but I'm not sure if we really have outlined the right process for this.
Well, I think it is a process, and what was described initially in the process was that this would not be a one-and-done type deal when we began. This process has kind of taken some different twist and turn in the last few months, And then we've landed at what we have now, which is a subcommittee made up of 3 planning commissioners from the mainland and from the island, 1 citizen from each of the planning commissioners, and then we've added on Tuesday the addition of Commissioner Rafalski. It's not perfect. This process isn't perfect. It is a very laborious, long process, and we're not here to exclude anybody, but at the same time, I believe that as a community, we need to continue to move forward and plow through this in order to make some headway in making sure that our zoning ordinances are up to date and current. I know there's been a lot of criticism. I'll tell you, I've had a lot of criticism. I've had a lot of people come and talk to me. Matter of fact, I was in Athens this past Friday for my daughter's graduation, and someone came up to me there and wanted to let me know what they thought about the zoning rewrite. I was having a good time until all that particular moment, so it follows you everywhere. I would probably hope that we as a commission would say that we don't have it exactly right in this case, but we do have a plan in front of us, and I believe we should continue to move forward. I know there's not a perfect committee that we could have appointed. I know everybody would like to have their representative, but we've come a long way in this process over the last several years. So I'd like to see us to continue to move forward. I do believe that we can certainly tackle number 15, the first part of it, by ratifying the appointments of the 2 planning commissions, including the names of George Ragsdale and Gary Neville, and then we can move down the way A, B, and C. But I'll leave the floor open for more discussion before I make that motion.
Mr. Chairman, okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank the potential people that will serve on this committee. Commissioner Rafalski, we thank you. It's going to be a long haul, long ordeal. And for the Planning Commission members and the appointees, I want to reemphasize that this is a work in progress. This ordinance was put together, suggested ordinance was put together. Our current ordinance is battle-tested, court-tested, and legally proven, so it's a solid document, but it's an aging document. And it is one that this community feels can be greatly upgraded. Our goal and our charge to the committee, and commissioners certainly can correct me if I speak out of line on that, but our charge basically is a process of, number 1, going through each section of this ordinance and basically eliminating HOA type of verbiage and other conflicts within that document, and then coming back and focus on our customer service. As Commissioner Tosson has said, our commission wants to see a department that is engaged with this committee and creates a good process for our community development and applicants that come in to have a good modern understanding of what they can do and make the process good customer service. And then we're going to come back and look at the changes needed to reflect the demographics of our community that has grown over the last 20 years. You know, the demographics of Brunswick, the issues on the island. And then there'll be another part where the community will have a chance to come back and weigh in on issues of concern with natural resources, density, and capacities. So this is a long process, but we've got an orderly procedure that we've given charge, and they're in charge of moving this forward. And I think our goals can be achieved and will be achieved. And at each segment, the Planning Commission will have the authority, with the approval of the Commission, to make changes to the committee or expand direction or focus. But a lot of people spend a lot of time putting together this original document, and then sadly it sat on the shelf. And our commission has been determined to bring it back out and work it through. So I think we're heading in the right direction, and I think we can move forward. It's not binding, as you said, Mr. Chairman, as far as changes that need to be made. And I think we've learned from the short-term rentals effort that having a commissioner involved in that process is helpful, and we appreciate Commissioner Rafalski stepping up. So.
And, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add that I have some problems with the makeup of this. Most everyone knows I am a builder-developer, so I have a vested interest in this. But I also have a more vested interest in fairness. And I want my constituents to be heard, but I don't want them to be heard by silencing others in our community. So when it comes to Section C of this, where we're directing our subcommittee to submit its procedures, timeline, and a plan for public input to the Board of Commissioners for consideration at our June 2nd meeting, I would like to see, I can certainly agree to pass this tentatively, but in that June 2nd meeting, we do have to hear from our entire community. And I want to be able to hear from them, but in doing so, it's important that as builders, developers, they do not have the right to negatively impact properties that surround the properties that they're doing. But by the same effect, people don't have the right to have a say on other people's personal property rights. So we've got to find that balance in our community, and we've got to work at it. And that's the reason with the short-term rentals, we worked so hard to make sure that there was a cross-section of everyone in the community that had a voice in what was done in the final outcome of the short-term rentals, to make sure that we had a reasonable document that we could live with. By the same focus, that has been my intent, my focus, and my desire throughout this whole rewrite, to make sure that we do have that same cross-section. So I can get behind directing this to move forward tentatively to the June 2nd meeting, but that we, at that point, know what that process for public input is going to be.
Is June 2nd enough time, you believe, for them to be able to develop that process?
It's questionable.
Would it be better to make it June 17th?
I would think they would have a better chance of,
okay,
personally.
All right. Any other comments? Mr. Toston?
Mike.
As far as the nominees are concerned, they are recommended to us. Are we voting on them individually, or are we voting on them as a group? And, and if we're voting on them as a group, or are we voting on them at all?
Mr. Attorney, do we have to vote for the six planning commissioners? So the only two that we'll be voting on would be Mr. Ragsdale and Mr. Neville.
Correct.
Okay, so if you would like, Mr. Toston, Commissioner Dawson, we can vote individually if that would be more beneficial or more appealing to you.
I would prefer that.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, if y'all decide to bump it to June 17th, and this proposal before you that was anticipating June 2nd, it only had one meeting for this group on May 23rd. If they find it necessary, if we could meet more than once, just meet as necessary to bring you a proposal on June 17th.
I think that's a good idea. All right. Commissioners, any motions, or do I need to make the motion? I'd like to make the motion that we, the board consider authorizing the planning commissions to appoint 2 non-members to the Special Zoning Ordinance Planning Commission Subcommittee, which was approved on April 21st, 2022. The 2 names are George Ragsdale and Gary Neville. We'll take those names individually. The first name is George Ragsdale. I make a motion to approve George Ragsdale to the Special Planning Commission Subcommittee. That is my motion. Is there a second? We have a motion. We have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those against? 1, 2, 3. Mr. Ragsdale passes 4-3. I make the motion to authorize the planning commissions to appoint Mr. Gary Neville to the Special Zoning Ordinance Planning Commission Subcommittee, which was approved on April 21st, 2022. That is my motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second by Commissioner Brunson. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those against? 1. 6, 4, 1 against for Mr. Neville. Item number 15A, I make the motion to appoint Commissioner Walter Rafalski to the Special Zoning Ordinance Review Planning Commission Subcommittee. That is my motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Those against? 6, 4, 1 abstention. Commissioner Rafalski will be added to the Planning Commission Subcommittee. Item 15B, direct the subcommittee to have an organizational meeting on May 23rd and follow up with any additional meetings as necessary to refine and finalize its procedures, timeline, and plan for public input. That's my motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion by myself, a second by Commissioner Rafalski. Any other further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? 6, 4, 1 against. Item C, direct the subcommittee to submit its procedures, timeline, and plan for public input to the Board of Commissioners for consideration at the June 17th, 2022 meeting. That is my motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All against? That motion passes 6-1. All right, I believe I've not missed any other items. Is that correct, Mr. Vice Chairman?
I think we're.
I'm glad you're here to keep me straight. Mr. Attorney, do we have any executive session opportunities?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
We'll call them opportunities tonight.
Property acquisition and potential litigation. Discuss, please.
All right, do I have a motion to go into executive session for property acquisition and potential pending litigation?
Second.
So moved.
We have
I thought we had a motion.
I'm sorry. Can I get a motion on the floor, please?
Motion to go into executive session for property acquisition and
Pending
litigation. Potential.
Second.
Have a motion to go in executive session. All in favor, raise your right hand. We're adjourned to executive session. come back into session?
So moved.
We have a motion to come back into session by Commissioner Booker. Do we have a second? We have a second by Commissioner Tossin. All in favor, raise your right hand. We are back in session. Do we have a motion? Any motions?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Commissioners approve the settlement agreement with Kirkland Enterprises regarding the bulk storage of wood material on its property and the terms of its removal.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Booker, a second by Commissioner Tossin and Commissioner Rafalski. All in favor, raise your right hand. 6-4, 1 against. Commissioner Fendig was against. Have a motion to adjourn. Oh, do we have one other? We don't have any, do we? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, motion to adjourn.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion to adjourn, a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. We are adjourned.